Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, welcome back to the Johanna universe. This video is again about this t-shirt pattern, which you will find in all my shops of course. The links you will find below in the description box. This video is about a very simple pattern hack of the Johanna pattern, which normally looks like this or like this. But in this video I'll show you how to sew the Johanna t-shirt without collar, so that it will look like this here, what I'm wearing here, a small boat neck. This is made with the neckline which is normally used for the collar B, or you can sew the Johanna like this here with an off-shoulder neckline. This is normally used for the collar A. You will see this pattern adaptation is really very simple to make, and if you like it, get yourself a Johanna pattern and let's start with this sewing project. Have fun! At first we have to determine the neckline and correct it if needed. As you've already seen in the introduction video, the neckline for collar B results in a narrow boat neck. If you'd like it to be wider, of course, you can cut it a bit at the sides. This is the original neckline as for collar A, and to be honest, I found it a little bit too high. But that's of course a matter of taste, and in any case you should try on your Johanna t-shirt before finishing the neck trimming. In any case, my following explanation is independent from the position of your neckline. Just choose what you like most. I've decided to lower the neckline by 3 cm, and here you can already see the result of this alteration. So I cut off 3 cm parallel to the fabric edge all around the neckline. Then the neckline has to be measured. To do this, just put its fabric edge into a straight line and measure this distance. Then you note this amount. For the boat neck, it can be easier to put at first the center front and back on fold and the shoulder seams on top of each other. Then the curves to measure are not that steep. Nevertheless, it stays a curve, so we measure here like this along the fabric edge. With this measurement, the piping is calculated. Let's say you've just measured 40 cm. If you're using inch, the method is exactly the same. Your measurement has to be taken now by 0.8. This is the stretch factor. This stretch factor is 0.8 for rather soft jersey fabrics, for example viscose elastan blends. For firmer jersey fabrics you should use 0.85. This would be, for example, for cotton elastan blends. But you have to be aware that these two stretch factors are only applicable for rather straight necklines, just like we have them here with the Johanna pattern. If you'd like to calculate a piping for a regular round neck, I would rather use 0.7 for softer jerseys and 0.8 for firmer fabrics. The result is then taken by 2, as we've only measured half of the neckline, but the piping is of course for the whole. Then only the seam allowance for the linking seam in the piping has to be added, and for this I add 1.5 cm, which is twice 7 mm. 1.5 cm is around half an inch. The result is the length of the piping. The piping is now cut as a rectangle with the grain line parallel to the short side. The length should be 65.5 cm. This is what we've calculated before. As a width, I've chosen 3.5 cm, which results in a ready piping width of 1 cm. Expressed in inch, this is 1 1/3 inch as a width for the fabric rectangle, which would result in a ready width of 1/3 inch. As soon as the piping is cut, it can be prepared. At first it's folded and ironed in half lengthwise, then unfold it again and put the two short sides together with their right fabric sides facing, and sew these ends together just with a straight stitch, and with the seam allowance of 7 mm, this is the half of your sewing foot. Then this seam allowance is pressed apart and the piping is again pressed and folded in half. The piping is a loop now and has to be divided in 4. The first mark is the seam, the second one just at the opposite side, And when you fold it in half like this, you can mark with a pin the third and the fourth quarter. So no calculating needed here. Then also the neckline is divided in 4. 2 of the marks are the center front and back, and the third and fourth marks are on the sleeves, just at the half of the distance between the center front and back. At the boat neck, the third and the fourth marks are the shoulder seams. Then the 4 marks at the piping are brought together with the 4 marks at the neckline. The seam in the piping I'm pinning to the center back. The fold in the piping is pointing downwards. The piping is pinned to the right fabric side of the body, and all the 3 open edges are together. Then the piping can be sewn on all around. As calculated before, the piping is shorter than the neckline, and while for the deep shoulderless neckline I'm pulling the piping evenly when sewing it on, at the boat neck you should sew on the piping without traction, where the curve is flat, this is where the green arrows are, and with much traction at the sides, where the neckline curve is steep, here marked with red arrows. Then the end of the overlock seam is threaded into the seam to secure it. And at last the piping seam is pressed with the seam allowance pointing downwards to the body. The neckline is now ready in a functional way, but if you look for perfection, you can make this last step with me. And this is to cover the back neck seam with an inside piping. For this you need a fabric strip with the width of around 2 cm, as long as the back neck, and this time with a grain line parallel to the long side. This fabric strip is now pinned to the back neck seam. Please pin it with its right fabric side to the seam, and its lower edge is aligning with the seam edge of the piping linking seam. Then the fabric strip can be sewn on just in the original seam line. And to follow this properly, I'm stitching from behind. Means the fabric strip is now hidden under the layer of the t-shirt. By the way, if you like to, you can fold in the short edges of the fabric strip. But as normally a jersey fabric doesn't fray, this is not absolutely necessary. Then the fabric strip can be folded downwards and can be wrapped around the seam. Like this, I fix it with pins. Like this, the seam is covered, which looks nice, but is also softer when wearing the Johanna. So this workmanship can be a good solution for everyone who is sensitive to scratchy seams in the back neck. As a last step, the inside piping is stitched in place. As I'm doing this from the inside of the t-shirt, it is now important to choose a matching lower thread at the sewing machine. A straight stitch is normally okay for the seam, as the neckline has got enough elasticity from the front neckline. So that's it already. These were already all the steps which are different to the regular sewing instruction. Everything else you will find in the Johanna standard video, which I link you here. Thank you for watching this video here. Don't forget to like it. This helps me a lot as a small creator. If you like to, you can also follow me on social media, on Instagram and Facebook. And I hope to see you very soon again to my next video here on YouTube. Take care until then. Bye.